Let's go live now to Michael Ware, our US contributor. He joins us live now. Michael, good to see you. This is, interesting to hear George Bush come out and speak publicly at this time. He's not someone who has been very public in commentating on such events since he stood down from being president. But obviously, this is an interesting intervention, to say the very least.
Yeah, it is. And you can understand why President Bush may have parted with the past president's convention, that generally they don't comment on the performance of their successors, because President George W. Bush was America's leader on 9/11. And then he's the one who launched the war in Afghanistan straight after the attacks in New York and in DC. So, he would have a lot personally invested in this conflict, and also it's obviously a defining part of his legacy. And you can tell that he's been clearly moved by the disintegration that we're seeing virtually before our eyes in Afghanistan. On the upside, however, the Biden administration announced today that they're going to begin rescuing the translators and other staff who'd helped the US mission over the years. They're calling it Operation Allies Refuge, and they're planning to extract as many as 19,000 of these former staff members and translators, and up to as many as 70,000 in total when you include their family members. And it's going to start happening quickly. Airlifts are due to begin before the end of this month, so sometime over the next 2 weeks. Now, the White House isn't saying precisely how many are being rescued, and they're not saying where they're going to take them. They're citing security reasons for their silence on that. But the question is, where are they going to take them and to process these people? There's some thoughts that they might be brought to US military facilities here in the States. They may be taken to a third country while they're being processed, or indeed they might be taken to US bases overseas. Look, obviously Afghanistan leaves a sad tone for all of us, Australia, America, and all the members of NATO. So you can understand how President George W. Bush must be feeling.
Yeah, indeed. And he's unshackled by, I guess, the pressures and clarity of being president, whilst he doesn't want coalition troops to withdraw. I don't know whether that interview went into it, but it didn't seem like he had a long-term solution, because you can't just keep, I guess, troops there for decades and decades. But look, in the meantime, terrorism hasn't gone away. It seems that the FBI have foiled an Iranian plot. Tell us about this.
Yeah, this is a remarkable series of events that gives us a glimpse into the shadow wars that are fought by nation states. So, yes, the FBI announced this morning that it's foiled an active plot by Iranian operatives to kidnap an American here on American soil and rendition her back to Iran, where, as the American authorities have said, she would have met an uncertain fate. Now, the target is a journalist and women's rights activist called Masih Alinejad. Now, she was living in Brooklyn, we don't know if she still is, because she's now been wrapped in a bubble of security. But the plan was to grab her in Brooklyn from her apartment and then whisk her to the Brooklyn shoreline, where they then intended to use either a military style or other speedboat to take her out of the city. These operatives had then been investigating the opportunities to take her by sea to Venezuela, which is a government where there's a government that remains friendly to Iran, and then to return her to Iran. Now, the Americans have issued arrest warrants for 4 Iranian men. One, they say, is an intelligence officer. 3 of them are intelligence assets. And they've also arrested an Iranian woman here in California who they say was providing financial services to these conspirators. Now, the Iranian regime's been targeting this female journalist for some time. She still has family in Iran, and apparently security forces there had tried to force her family to lure this journalist to a third country where they would have intended to abduct her, but her family refused. Her brother was arrested, and he's serving now something like an 8-year sentence. So instead, they launched this operation on American soil, and they paid American private investigators who operated unwittingly to surveil her, and they took photographs of her, her husband, her stepchildren, even her garden in Brooklyn. Now, Iran denies any responsibility for this. They say it's ridiculous and it's baseless. But the FBI says that this is not some far-fetched movie plot. I mean, people here are saying it sounds like it's come out of a Bond or a Jason Bourne movie. But the deputy director of the FBI said something like this is not going to happen on our watch. And the US attorney has charged these 5 people. Now, one of them was in possession of a digital image of a mock-up of a poster that had the picture of this woman who was targeted with a banner saying, "Are you coming to us or will we come to you?" And remember, the Iranians have form for this kind of thing. In 2019, they lured an exiled journalist who was living in France to Iraq, where he was taken, brought to Iran and executed. Then only just last year, another Iranian living here in California disappeared on a business trip to Dubai, and he's now in prison there in Iran. This is a daring, brazen operation that has been brilliantly intercepted by the FBI. And as I said, it gives us a little bit of a window into the dark kind of deeds that happen between these nation states.
Well, Michael Ware, that is quite a story, quite a plot indeed. Thanks so much for your time.